All right, thank you very much for letting me look at your work. I saw a lot of really, really, really good work, and then I also saw some areas that I thought we could work on together today. There were a couple areas that I saw over and over and over again that made me go, oh, we should work on that together. So one of those things that I saw that we're gonna work on today is stating our claim as a topic sentence, because that seemed like something I maybe didn't do a good enough job of asking you to do. I really, really focused on having the relevant, specific, not an opinion, evidence and elaboration, and I really focused on the citations and the thorough explanation, but I didn't focus on the organization piece of a paragraph. So we're gonna look at that today. And then we're also gonna look at that thorough elaboration. I know last time we talked about what thoroughly meant. Does anyone remember?
It means that it's explained very well.
Explained very well. We're going to look at some papers that had a really good job of giving thorough elaboration, and then we're going to look at some samples that we're going to help give them some advice, and I'm going to write it down and give them back to them. And I thought that this paper did a good job in a lot of ways. Fear can be dangerous and control you. That was the topic sentence. Do you guys know what the rest of this paragraph is going to be about based on that sentence? Yeah. What's it going to be about? Who can tell me?
How it's taking over you, like.
How fear is taking you over? Okay, so is it going to be arguing that fear is a good thing or fear is a bad thing?
Bad thing.
It's going to be arguing that it's a bad thing. All right, so who remembers what the actual prompt wanted you to write about? What did the actual prompt want you to write about?
Okay, the prompt was about how fear is bad.
How fear is bad. So one of the first things you need to do when I'm looking at the rubric and grading you is, did you answer the prompt? So if you put, it could be good or bad, or if you put, fear could actually be good, are you answering the question?
No.
No, so we want to make sure we're answering the question, and I think that this person did. Let's see what else they said. Paragraph 4 in What Causes Phobias conveys that fear can be dangerous by saying how if the fear signal is so intense, the person is convinced the danger is greater than it actually is. For example, if you thought you saw a bee and it was just a fly, you would freak out for no actual reason other than something you thought you saw. So what do you notice that this student is doing here? They referenced, and I know it's not in quotations, but they referenced something from the text about how if the fear signal is so intense, the person is convinced the danger is greater than it actually is. Does that sound almost like a direct quote? Yeah. Kind of a summarization of the quote you saw in the article? Yeah. And then what did they do after it? What did this person do after it that was strong, that made it a good example that I would want to share with you?
Oh, they gave an example of something that could happen if you were experiencing that fear.
Okay, so they gave an example of something that could happen if this applied to you. And was that example out of the article? No. Did you guys see in the article anything about a bee versus a fly?
No.
So what would we call that? What did this student use?
Inference.
It's similar to an inference. You're on the right track. It's elaboration, right? The student took something that the text did say and summarized it in their own words, but then they took it to the next step and gave you an example from their imagination or their mind about how that might apply to someone else that the article and author did not talk about. So they're elaborating on this idea. All right, I want you to turn to your neighbor and talk about one other thing that you think was a strength or something that this person did well.
What do you think about that? What strength?
I think they did very good at like putting like real life evidence or something like that in there.
Who can share something that they saw and thought that made this paper a stronger example of a paper?
Like strong vocabulary.
You saw strong vocabulary. Can you give me an example of what strong vocabulary means?
Thoroughly and like she used the words irrational.
Okay, so you saw some academic language in her writing. Now we're going to look at a paper that had really good parts, but there were other parts that we could improve on a little bit using the criteria for quality analysis. And we're gonna help give this person some feedback. Without giving you any hints, I want you to just talk to your partner about one thing or one piece of advice you would give this student. Remembering the rubric wants us to have thorough evidence, clear citations, and thorough explanation. Okay, what did you guys think?
We think that the person should get more evidence from the text.
More evidence from the text.
And they're very repetitive.
They're repetitive, so rather than having new ideas, they said the same thing multiple times.
And like the other one, maybe it could have more real life explanation.
All right, so it looks like the advice I gave this student was that they had uneven use of elaborative techniques. Can you tell me what elaborative techniques are? What would I be adding?
More real-world examples and describe it more thoroughly.
Okay, I'm gonna be adding real-world examples. I'm gonna describe it thoroughly. I'm gonna add additional details to go along with the pieces of evidence I picked, right? All right.
Using more examples. And
Using
quotes.
more examples, more quotes.
I need to put in more examples and more academic vocabulary.
Academic vocabulary for you.
I need to explain my evidence more thoroughly.
Maybe I can have a better intro.
A better intro. So that's going back to that idea of topic sentence or making the claim in your paper. Can I just see a show of hands of how many of you think that would also improve your writing? If you added the claim or a stronger topic sentence, oh my goodness, almost everyone. Let's go do that. Let's go do that. Everyone should have the claim as that first topic sentence of their paragraph. And if you don't, let's write it in the white space right up here. So keeping in mind that, oh, I always put my claim or topic sentence at the top will help you if you have a writing activity tomorrow, even a quick write at the beginning of the day, right? You always want to start with your claim or your topic sentence. All of the students, I think, walked away with a clearer understanding of how to use evidence in their text to support the claim. So hopefully you will see that in their next piece of writing. And if you don't, maybe remind them of that experience so that they can reflect back on that.
Right.